Hey everybody, it's Jim of Animateducated. Today you're going to meet Paul Demeyer, who is an animator, an animation director, and an author of a new book called Walking on Clouds. So here's my interview with Paul Demeyer. I really appreciate you coming on Animateducated, and that you sent me this book you're working on called Walking on Clouds. I'm meeting him in like a couple days. I hope I can read it because I'm not a very fast reader. And then when I saw it was all drawings with like little bits in here and there, I was like, oh yeah. So I started flying through it, and it's really interesting, really fun.
I when I started it, I first wrote it with drawings, and I had like 350 pages, which was mostly written, with a lot of drawings, but mostly written. And then when I read that, I thought, well, man, there's way too much material in here. I have to kind of pare it down, which I did. And then while I was kind of starting to draw, I realized, oh, why I don't need to say it when it's drawn, right? So I would kind of condense it. So it's only the words are only like the maximum thing you need to situate the drawing.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it starts off just kind of about how you came up with the idea for a book, and then kind of goes into your early life. And
Yes.
I thought it was almost like three books in one. It was like one thing about, dealing with diabetes as a young kid,
Yes.
and then it kind of goes into a little bit more about your animation and art kind of, life, and then it goes more into meditation,
Yes.
that you kind of
Yes.
discovered along the way.
Yes.
So,
But we know what happened was 6 years ago. I started to have bad problems with the blood vessels in the legs. And eventually it got so bad they had to amputate both feet. So that was very traumatic. But what really helped me in those days was to keep like a sketchbook, what was going on in my head, what was physically going on, and uh, uh, and then I had these two sketchbooks, which I actually mostly did after everything was over. Not so much because during this whole period I was like on so many drugs and painkillers. I was really out of it. But I had two sketchbooks, and I thought, oh man, I could turn this into a book. And then I thought, oh yeah, but maybe it needs a little bit more about the diabetes thing, explaining about that. And then I thought, yeah, but then it's like, it's just going to be a book for diabetics, right? And I feel there's more to it. There's more like a life experience, a life message, and how to live with, because everybody has something. Everybody has either a physical or a mental or a emotional something they carry. So and then my spiritual search has been so important in my life. Uh, I cannot tell you my story without adding that to it. So it became, what I thought might be three different books. It became one book, and I think I teach. That's what I'm trying to do is to give it an entertainment value, like by the way I go back and forth and the interesting details or fun details that make it interesting. So I hope it will be. Yeah, I'm only halfway, and I probably will cut things out that you've read. I don't know yet. I'll see what once I'm done. I'll be the editor again, and so what I needed to do is just kind of get going with the story and not get too caught up with the drawing, the nicely drawn stuff. And now I'm at chapter 10, and that's just the way I'm gonna do it. Just keep going really rough. So it's going to be easier to take things out as well, and then do the cleanup, which is still pretty. Uh, you know, I like to draw it very naturally, so that it doesn't feel too cleaned up. And then do the washes to give it shape and atmosphere. But all that takes time. I'm amazed how long it's taking me to do this. You know, and I've been used to work with writers. So go straight from writing to the visualization process, and so writing my own stuff, it's difficult. and that's difficult. But I also enjoy the process, the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you get older, it is good to still have things going on like that, where you really kind of push yourself. It's like you're never done learning,
In your book here, I was kind of looking through it, and it kind of went over that you kind of applied to Cal Arts and you got it
Yes.
right off
Yes.
the, and
Yes.
you made a film called The Muse, which won a Student Academy Award.
I went to Cal Arts, and I loved it there. I loved that all the arts were in one school, and the work was great, and I did this little film, The Muse, and I didn't think much of it, but my teacher Jules Engel said, "Oh, you should send it in for the Student Academy Awards," and I did, and I forgot all about it, and then one day I get this telegram, and it said I had won, and I was just totally flabbergasted. I thought surely someone else would win it. So that was a great experience.
Well, it's interesting. You went to Cal Arts, and you met a lot of people that are now pretty famous people in the industry.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. John Lasseter, of course, was the one who made, his best known, but also Henry Selick. We were close then. Of course, once you get into your careers, you just don't see each other. People get too busy. And after that, I went back to Belgium for about 5 years. I was teaching and working on in a studio where we did commercials, a TV show, and at the end also a feature film, which I did boards on. I'd been in London a few times where I had a good friend who was working there, and I met Richard and Jill Purdom, who had an animation studio there, and we really hit it on. It's like we had a good conversations, and Richard had been to Chenard, so he was familiar with Cal Arts, and they offered me a job. So I went to London and animated, directed commercials for about 7 years, and then I had my eye problems, which I started at one point, diabetes related. But I had to go to LA to do a commercial, a live action shoot first, commercial we were doing in London. And while here, I met up with Gabor Chupo, and I'd met Gabor and Arlene from Klasky Chupo years earlier at the Ottawa Film Festival. And they offered me a job, but I couldn't take it at the time. Anyway, eventually I went back to Belgium, where I had a bunch of operations. And then met my wife, who was from Germany, and we were in Germany. I was staying with her once the operations were over. My sight was very decreased enormously, but I could still work, as long as I didn't need to do cleanup and in-betweens. And we got a call from LA, and it was Gabor saying, "Hey, when are you coming? We're expecting you, blah, blah, blah." And I worked on Duckman first as a director, then went on to be creative producer on a new Rugrats season, and then started working as a sequence director on the first Rugrats feature. And they were very happy with my work, and they asked me whether I would direct the next movie, which was Rugrats in Paris. Of course, I agreed, because that was something I'd wanted to do, kind of take on that kind of project. Yeah, and then that was like 2 years of my life that was just really, really hard work, really hard work, and not as satisfying as one would think. It's like for the producers, at least the executives, it's never good enough, and for the people who work for you, you keep on, the script keeps changing, so you have to kind of throw work out, and they really kind of feel frustrated. So it's like my wife wasn't happy because I was never home, and then when I was home, I was so tired. It's like a tired husband. That's all she had, like on Sundays. After that, I thought, listen, if I'm going to do another movie, directing another movie, it's going to be something that's, I feel totally committed to, something that I want to say that comes from, not necessarily that I write, but that I'm more connected to, because in the end, Rugrats was, a TV show, and although I liked the TV show, it was well written, and the characters were very very good, because they really covered the spectrum of characters, that kids can relate to. But in the end, it was still, a franchise that you have to make for big studios, and it's very, the money is very important. That it's got to make money. That's really the bottom line. So anyway, I then worked as a sequence director on the Wild Thornberrys movie, which is a really good movie. I think it was the best movie that Plasky Chupo made. But the film didn't do as well as the Rugrats, I think mainly because before this came out, Nickelodeon put out this film, Arnold. It was really a TV show, and the director was very upset about it himself. He said, this didn't get the love and the attention and the production quality a film should get. And I think that the audience saw that too, and if you're gonna take your family and spend like $100, on tickets, and you want to have something for your money, and they didn't get that. So I think the franchise really lost its impetus, and the film didn't attract as many people as it should have. Because I saw it recently again at the Film Academy Museum, and it was a good movie. I was really impressed after so many years. So anyway, after that, I went back to doing commercials, and then the last big project for me was Miles from Tomorrowland. Looking back, I feel really grateful for having all the experiences I've had, and all the different things and the different posts I have had, and it's really led me. A while ago, I was giving a Zoom talk to an Indian company who was doing this program for young animators and animation students, and their last question was, what is your advice to all of us, who are listening? What is your kind of life advice? And I said, do what you love, but love what you do, because you're not always going to do exactly what you love. But whatever you're doing, love it, because it really makes a huge difference. If you do it with enthusiasm, half the battle is won, but then also finding what you love is so important. And so many people don't know what they want to do in their lives, and they get into jobs they don't like. I think it's better to have a small income but do what you like than a big income and hating what you do.
I appreciate you coming on Animateducated and just letting us know about your book here, Walking on Clouds. And whenever it gets out, just let me know, and I'll put it up here so everybody can see, get a link to it. And there's also, I'll include a link to your website, so you can people can go there and see all the stuff you've worked on. And if they want to get in contact with you about meditation and how to do that, hopefully they'll they can go there. So but thanks again for coming on Animateducated, and yeah, it's great to finally meet you. So
thank you, Jim. We've been going back and forth on emails, and it's nice to see you and see your colorful environment behind you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a little much.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Paul Demeyer. It's kind of interesting because he won a Student Academy Award in 1997, and I won one in 1988. And we both went to the 50th anniversary of the Student Academy Awards together. And it was really a fun event and got to see all the new films that are coming out. So, yeah, that was really fun. And if you've enjoyed this interview in any way, you can press that button right there to subscribe, or you can take a look at these videos here. I also have some down below that you might be interested in. And we'll see you next time on Animated Educated.